Bed and breakfast. We are live on a Monday. What's good, everybody? Ben Heisler, Peter Dewey, Reed Wallach. The Monday crew is here as we are with you for the next 15 minutes. We are going to go through our best bets for Monday night. And actually, for the first time, we're going through 3 different slates. I got an NFL play. Peter's got an NBA play. Reed, shocking, has a college hoops play. So we will get to those coming up in about 10 minutes or so. We'll also go through our early leans for week 11 in the NFL with opening odds already out. Guys, it's good to see you. It's good to have us back together on a Monday. We all survived the weekend. I don't know if you can necessarily say the same for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They tied with the Detroit Lions. And it got me thinking that if you tie in an NFL game, first of all, I kind of have 2 thoughts on this, and I'm curious to get your guys' opinion on this. The first is that as a fan, there's a part of me that would rather just take the loss. I think it's more deflating to end a game in a tie, especially if you're playing against a team that does not have a win this season. I'd almost just rather take the L. You can flush it out of your system, say it was just chalk it up to one bad game. The way in which the Steelers tied felt worse than an actual loss. And the other thing is do you consider in Survivor, if you took the Steelers, is that really a win, even though it's a tie? I don't know how I feel about this. I'm curious to get your guys' perspective on this.
Go ahead, Reed. All right, I was gonna say there's no way I would take that as a Survivor win. There's no way. I can't. The Steelers also choked that game away. Like, I unfortunately watched that entire game. And like, there were multiple times they had one in the second half and one in the first half where they had 1st and goal and they threw the ball 3 times with Mason Rudolph. Like, is Najee Harris not on the team? Like, what are we doing here? He also ran for 100 yards. So I was just appalled that they let Mason Rudolph throw the ball 50 times yesterday. Like, it didn't make sense. There's no way I'd let them get a Survivor win. But if you had a Lions 0-17 ticket, I feel very bad for you.
Well, for sure, I feel bad for them too. I mean, are you on the same page, Reed? Like, do you look at that in a Survivor context and say it's not a win, it's a tie, therefore you shouldn't get credit for the win in Survivor?
Yeah, you should be knocked out. I think you need to make these like nuances in the rules where you need to cut out as many people as possible. So I am totally with tie. You're out. It stinks. I would hate it, but it is what it is. And even more interesting is the Steelers are right in this AFC, the AFC North race, the AFC wildcard race. And like, ties, sometimes they help you, they hurt you. Your winning percentage is kind of affected differently. So I'm interested to see how this tie is going to affect the Steelers come playoff time, because Roethlisberger might not play again next week. I don't think the Steelers are that good to begin with. So I'm interested to see where the Steelers shake out on all this. And now they have to go to LA next Sunday night.
By the way, if your philosophy in Survivor is to just go against the Lions, they play Cleveland on the road next week, and that's not going to make anybody feel better considering what we saw out of the Browns last week as well. I have another thought process here. It's a little bit convoluted, so bear with me for a second. Just like, ties, when you're looking at, all overall records at the end of the season, you're still looking at winning percentage. I feel like the same should apply in Survivor, where you're not technically eliminated, but if you have other people in the Survivor League that don't have a tie, they win. But if everybody else falls out, then the teams that had the tie, but they win out, ultimately get the win. Basically, you don't get credit for it, but you don't get completely eliminated either. You're sort of like that last
purgatory.
Yes, purgatory is the perfect way to describe it. You're just sort of like in limbo. Yeah, and then you get it gives you more interest the rest of the season. Like, you're just hanging on. It changes your philosophy. I think it makes it more exciting.
I can get behind that.
Pete?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think I agree with Reed. You have to outline it before the start of the pool, because I feel like Survivor pool, it's like you're winning in advance, and so if you had the Steelers yesterday, imagine rooting for a tie in that overtime, because you're they're not gonna win. We can't have the Lions win. It would be a very weird scenario. But I don't hate the idea, Ben.
And Reed, you were also telling us before we started that your roommate had the Lions on the money line. I mean, just why subject yourself to that on a Sunday? That would just ruin the day for me.
Yeah, his anger like everyone was laughing in the room because you can't help but laugh. The game was such a disaster that you're saying there, and then it's a tie, and he's like, "Well, at least I didn't lose the bet. Like I'm still alive." Or he had it in like a round robin, so he was kind of still willing it along. He's like, "But it's better than losing the bet. I mean, I'm gonna get like a third of my value, but I'll take it." I was like, "Yeah, you didn't lose," and it was hysterical the whole way.
I mean, that's watching that happen unfold, especially to one of your buddies, would just be amazing. So I'm glad you had a chance to experience that firsthand. I want to talk to you guys about opening odds. We've been doing this the last couple of weeks here on Bet and Breakfast, where it's Monday morning. We're up, we got our coffee, we're getting our sort of our bets together for the week. But what's nice about betting on the opening odds over at WynnBET is that you can usually try to find a line that is fairly solid for you guys before we think the line is going to move. And we've seen this over the last couple of weeks. Jumping on these early tends to be an advantageous move. So I'm curious to see where you guys are going this week. I have my team. I know you guys have yours. So Peter, let me start with you here. As far as games that we're looking at right from the get-go, do you think the line could move? We'd like that number from the very beginning. Tell me the team or tell me the total that you're going to go with right away here on a Monday.
Yeah, Ben, I'm looking at the Bills at home, -6.5 against the Colts. I love this at under a touchdown. If you look at what Buffalo's done at home this year, they're 2-1-1 against the spread, but they're winning by 17.5 points in those games. So very, very good home team. The Bills have won every single game this season by double digits. And I just was not impressed with Indianapolis on Sunday. I know the Bills had their struggles with the Jaguars in week 9, but Colts had that game in the bag in the first quarter, and then they just let the Jags hang around. I haven't loved their offense this year. If they don't get Jonathan Taylor going, and obviously Buffalo has a pretty solid defense, I don't really believe in Carson Wentz to outduel Josh Allen. So I like this at less than a touchdown, especially for Buffalo at home. And I just think that the fact that Indy's coming off this week where they just kind of mailed it in is good karma coming in for Buffalo.
So two quick things on that, because I agree. I really like that line, and especially if you're looking at it from a teaser perspective, 6.5 is the perfect number to tease down with another game this week as well. I also think about all the goodwill that Patrick Mahomes has gotten over the last several years because Carson Wentz attempted that left-handed pass and nearly got intercepted. And if Mahomes does it, we're all freaking out. We're all excited about it. But if it's Carson Wentz, we're like, God, Carson Wentz just trying to turn the ball over left and right. So the goodwill for Mahomes still exists. What about for you, Reed? Is there a matchup that you're already jumping on from the very beginning?
So we were talking about early line moves and stuff. And this one, I'm going to wait and see because, Ben, I think you're going to touch on it, but I think the Niners are kind of live tonight against the Rams. I think they could potentially win that game for several different reasons. But I'm looking ahead to next week. I'm going to be against the Niners. I'm going to wait and see where this line comes out tomorrow post Monday Night Football. But right now, WynnBET, they're +4.5 against the Jaguars on the road. And there's a lot of factors for Jacksonville in the spot. Like Pierre just said, the Jags were able to hang around with Indianapolis. I left a little, they didn't mail it in like Indianapolis maybe kind of took their foot off the gas. But the Jags, they put up a pretty decent showing, in my opinion, had a drive at the end to maybe win the game. But really, I like fading the Niners here. Kyle Shanahan is a favorite, 11-23-1 against the spread as a favorite. They're going to have a short week going across the entire country. After 2 straight division games, I think this is a real letdown spot for the Niners. And the Jaguars' rush defense is pretty solid, around league average, and the Niners all based around the run. If this is going to be a Jimmy G game, sure, I'll take the points with the Jaguars.
You make a really good point, too, about why even though we like to be able to go ahead and find a number that we like early, if there's an indication that the public could jump all over a team, then it's also smart to know when to wait as well. So I think that makes a ton of sense. And I'm with you. I think the 49ers are very much live here for sort of a plethora of reasons, which we'll get to in a little bit for our best bets here on Monday night. So I think that's a really interesting spot. And especially if they do win against the Rams, a lot of people are going to be on board the 49ers. And let's face it, guys, weird things happen in Jacksonville this year, starting in week 1 when Aaron Rodgers played against the Saints there because the Saints got displaced and all of a sudden they ended up losing 38-3. Speaking of the Saints, they are the play that I really like for this week. A lot of books open this game at Eagles -1.5. Saints are +1, but WinBet, interestingly enough, opened it up at a pick'em. So they wanted to stay ahead of the movement. I think a lot of bettors saw the fact that the Eagles were favored, and that moved the lineup back to that +1. But give the Saints a lot of credit from an offensive side with their third string quarterback and slowly integrating in Taysom Hill. They fought back in both of those games, and they've actually played better on the road defensively than you would anticipate. So I think this is a team that is absolutely live against Philadelphia. The Eagles' schedule down the stretch, and this is something we're going to write about a little bit later on this week over at BetSided, is incredibly easy. So even though they're favored, they could lose this game and still have a great opportunity to get into the postseason. There's just far more at stake for New Orleans than there is for Philadelphia. And I think the defense is finally going to start to turn around. I think they can neutralize Jalen Hurts and the rest of this offense. We'll see whether or not Miles Sanders ultimately ends up playing, but that's a play that I'm going to get on, especially if I can get the Saints at plus points, maybe even consider teasing that. Maybe we'll do a Saints teaser with the Bills this week, move that line up to
I like the sound of that.
7.5.
And Jags money line.
Buffalo. Yeah, maybe this is our show teaser of the week. I like it. All right, so we got our plays there. Let's move on to Monday night best bets. We have NFL. You got the Rams 3.5-point favorites on the road against the 49ers with a total of 50 over at WinBet. You got a nice 11-game slate in the association tonight. And, of course, there's college hoops on the docket as well. So, Peter, I will go to you first when you're looking at your favorite bets of the night. I think you're looking NBA tonight. So who are you going with?
Yeah, Ben, I'm going NBA again. I seen this line last night. It opened at Suns -3. They're playing the Timberwolves on the road. It's now up to 4, I believe, at WinBet. I still love it at that number. Phoenix 8-4 against the spread this season, and Minnesota's the worst team in the NBA against the spread. They're just 3-9. I'm surprised that Phoenix, I know they're on a back-to-back, but they blew out the Rockets yesterday, 115-89. Nobody played that many minutes. Chris Paul ended up playing only 29 minutes. I think Devin Booker played 31. Jay Crowder played 24. Like, they didn't have to tax themselves to get that win. So obviously on the road on a back-to-back isn't ideal, but I don't think that this is a game where you're going to see Monty Williams feel like he's got to rest guys because they got the rest yesterday. And the Suns, they're obviously, like I said, they're 8-4 against spread. They've won 8 in a row now. So they started the season 1-3. They're now 9-3. And this Minnesota team, I just don't think they're that good. They're 26th in the NBA in offensive rating. Phoenix is in the top 10, 8th in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating. They're just a better team. I love that you can get them at like less than 5 points. Like NBA games are always, you get the chance for the backdoor cover if somebody's got a big lead at the end of games. But I just think this is a great spot for the Suns to get to 10 wins. And they're really making a statement in the Western Conference to start this year.
Yeah, I think Phoenix was ready to prove that they were not a fluke from last year, considering all the parity that happened in the West. They were also the best team in the NBA as far as wins against the spread last year. New York actually had the better cover percentage at 61%, but Phoenix 55, 38-1 against the spread in 2020 and 2021. Already off to a top 5 start, like you mentioned, 8-4-0 against the spread, covering 66.7% of their games. What about for you, Reed? I know you're looking college basketball tonight. Nice little Midwestern matchup for us.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this. I wouldn't say it's a trend, but kind of situational spots where veteran teams with a lot of continuity coming in and playing transfer-heavy teams. The transfer portal is huge in college basketball nowadays, and I'm really looking at I'm kind of going reverse here, but I've been looking mid-major underdogs against kind of high-major transfer teams. This is now a veteran, in my opinion, top 10 team in the country against a transfer-heavy Big East team in Marquette. I'm laying the points with Illinois here. Yes, they lost Ayo Dosunmu. Yes, Kofi Cockburn is suspended still, but they still have Andre Curbelo. They still have Trent Frazier. I think that they are going to come out and blast Marquette, who returns less than 20% of their minutes from last season. New coach Shaka Smart still integrating in his system. They did not look very good in the first week. They beat SIU Edwardsville by 11 and New Hampshire by 5. So this is going to take some time. In Illinois, yeah, Michigan and Purdue are kind of getting the headlines going into the year, but Illinois is number 4 in Ken Palm's rating this season. They are still very, very good. Coleman Hawkins, the sophomore, really has looked good as the big man in Coburn's replacement for now. So Illinois, this is the end of like where I would buy it to at -9, but on the road, I'm still laying the points with the Illini.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, if that number ends up going away, you can go ahead and consider that game live. Maybe Marquette gets off to a bit of a hot shooting start, and then you can go ahead and jump on Illinois live as well. But I think 9 is a good number there as well. I've loved both of those picks. For me, I'm staying in the NFL. It's kind of a two-parter. We talked about it. I do think the 49ers are live. I wrote about this last night over at BetSided, how and I spoke to one of the odds makers over at WinBet regarding the reverse line movement in this game, because they have 95% of the money coming in at WinBet on the LA Rams, but they moved the line from where it opened at -4 down to -3.5. So they're respecting other books' movement, even though they haven't necessarily gotten the money coming in on the San Francisco side. They're sort of following suit. And there's also several of the traders there, and this is something that they talked to us specifically about, that are all over San Francisco. They really like that number for them. So that's another indication that if you want to side with the Sharps tonight and side with the sports books, go ahead and jump on 49ers, possibly before this number even moves to +3. But on that line, I think this is a little bit more of a challenge because it's an anytime touchdown. There's so much variance in the NFL. So many things can happen. But I really like Trey Lance to get into the end zone. I think for anybody that saw Cam Newton run in on his first time yesterday against Arizona, yell out, "I'm back." I think Kyle Shanahan might have seen that. It might have been inspired, because he's run Trey Lance in similar types of forms against San Francisco, especially when they're in the red zone, making sure that Jimmy G does not turn the ball over. They run somebody like Lance, who's so effective in that area. And the Rams aren't good against the run either. They're 14th in run DVOA. They're 23rd in rushing touchdowns allowed. To me, it just makes all the sense in the world. I think this is purely a value play. 6-1 odds for Lance, where they typically would run him in this offense anyway. You have a great shot of that being able to turn around, especially against a Rams defense that has struggled against the run. There you have it, guys. Oh, go ahead.
Great point. Kyle Shanahan won the last 4 against Sean McVay, covered 3 of 4 of them as one outright, 4 straight, 3 of them as underdogs. So Shanahan might have McVay's number. So I'm with you on the Niners.
Love it. All right. So hopefully all these hit for you guys as well if you decide to tail it. Again, there's plenty more content for you guys to check out over at BetSided. Plenty of previews, analysis, same game parlays, and props for Monday Night Football tonight as well. Peter will have his best plays in the NBA. We'll have our team prop bets. So if you're looking for content, we got it for you over at BetSided today. So thanks for waking up with us. It's Bet and Breakfast for my guys, Peter and Reed. I am Ben. Great to have you guys with us. We'll be back on Thursday for a brand spanking new edition of Bet and Breakfast. So long, everybody.